folks. Here we are, coffee in hand. I'm not going to be taking any shortcuts today. Chris McCleary with your weekly forecast, energy forecast. We're going into 2022. Can you believe it? Last couple of days of 2021, getting into our surf stance. We're surfing these energies, and we have an interesting layout today for you. Our influence slide says it all. But remember, the most important part of these reports, about, I don't know, I'm guessing about 45 minutes-ish. Towards the end, the last half, we're going to be talking about the solution. This is where we talk about behaviors, recommendations for action. But this first part is important too, because we got to know what to expect in terms of energies. Well, I point out now in the summary slide, this is the summary of the influences, that the congruency score, or the overlap, is much smaller than we're used to recently, mainly because the dream bot is horrific. This is coordinated violence is in the collective unconscious. That's not pleasant. But nonetheless, it is indicated in the astrology. That's what we've been talking about with Saturn square Uranus for so long now, for just pretty much all of 2021. And so that's the green down here. And then you got this little overlap with the blue. That's the I-Ching. That's increase. So is there an overlap between increase? We'll obviously talk more about what this 42 really means. But what is the overlap between coordinated violence and increase? And then you got that little sliver there of overlap, and that's hazardous shortcuts, because what the I-Ching 42 will make us, it indicates that we're looking for opportunities, and there are going to be opportunities. And then the coordinated violence sort of indicates that we're going to take measures to capture those opportunities in a hazardous way. And so, but there's also these shortcuts, because increase takes patience. It's not immediate reward most of the time. So we take shortcuts, and I bring in my personality into this mix, and I'm sort of an expert in this. Not hazardous shortcuts, it's efficiency. But we got to watch out for that. We got to watch out for impatience. That's sort of what this feels like. This feels like impatience. I want it now. I want it fixed now. I want the opportunities now. And that matches with the new moon in Capricorn. I want it now. I'm going to be climbing this mountain as a goat, but I want it now. I don't want to have to keep enduring. I will if I have to, because it's Capricorn. But nobody wants to, right? So we got to watch out for that impatience. It's a low congruency score, because this coordinated violence is not a huge overlap with the I-Ching, but it is definitely even the coordinated violence is definitely in the astrology, unfortunately. In other news for astrology, we have the Pluto conjunct Venus, and you could make the case that that's also the coordinated violence as well. I hadn't really planned on including that with Pluto conjunct Venus, but it does have to do with sort of, if you're scared, if it feels like the end, that's Pluto, then we have a chance of not really interrelating all that well. And so, yeah, that's in here too. So maybe the overlap here is a little bit bigger, but nonetheless, we have Mercury going into Aquarius, and then later in the month, Mercury is going to be going retrograde back into Capricorn. We got a lot of things to talk about in the astrology, tons of things, and we'll do that. We'll even look at the very minute of ringing in 2022. We'll look at what the stars look like there, at least in Central Time Frame. And why don't we just get started now? And I really want to express my gratitude for all of the interaction that we're having, people talking amongst yourselves and batting around different ideas. And I'm just going to reiterate that I don't want to be an echo chamber. And so I really do value everyone's unique opinions. And I value free speech, and so I appreciate every single person's comments. I have a shout out for Teresa. This is representative of all the commentary over on Telegram. If you haven't gone to Telegram, I encourage you to participate over there and even get into the chat room. And so where you can get a lot of information and exchange with each other, because these days I'm just so busy throughout the day. But Teresa talks about her possibly the astrology having an effect on her dreams, and dreaming about an ex-boyfriend from 20 years ago, and she can't wait to see what next week is going to bring. This is this week now. She's talking about all sorts of great comments that I probably just could have made the whole wall here of full comments, but we'd be here all day with that. And we initially had a 3-way tie for first place in the best comment section with Knucklehead 2. This is on Rumble. Both Milos and Knucklehead had 3 rumbles. And interestingly, QB had 3 ups, but I just checked just before this, and QB actually has 4 now, 4 ups. So technically she won, but a shout out to Knucklehead 2 and Milos for these comments on Rumble. Thanks for navigating these difficult energies. I agree. I'm grateful for the technologies that we have found to be able to give me some insight about what to look for. And Milo says, great stuff, guys. Thank you. And QB says, this is over on YouTube. My emotional bell has been rung this month. I personally haven't had any relationship issues, but feeling highly emotional and impatient about the times we are in. And that's this keyword impatient. And that rings into this week, this CIRF report. And so I think this word impatience is going to be a central theme for a lot of us. I feel like a lot more should have been accomplished by now, and we should be on the downhill side of this crazy world we find ourselves in. There are indicators that we are further along than we think. I've seen some predictions on various social platforms, not a lot of them, but some of them saying that that the end of the pandemic is imminent, and with justification, not just willy-nilly opinions, but with actual some data, some indications, some evidence. So anyway, shout out to every comment. Thank you. Let's try to be understanding of other people's sides and move forward. All right, Dreambot. Here it is, folks. Number 1 word with a pretty good surge score is knife, mad, stone, bring, shot, girl. I mean, come on. This is violence. And it's all way at the top. So it's like totally, it's strong. It's in your face. And very top of the collective unconscious. It's not a good thing. We have robber. So people are getting robbed. And this is sort of commensurate. This could be day residue from the news. I mean, you've got people that are doing some creative things out in California and other places in blue states, particularly to circumvent, because they don't seem to want to be stopping the shoplifting. So it's up to the shop owners or the companies to start stepping up measures. Anyway, so violence is going up. And is that indicative of escalation for this next week? Or is this just day residue from the past? Maybe both. And then the blue arrows is it's sort of a team. It's team, every brother following party could be, celebration and all that. And that could be coming up on New Year's, obviously. It's not a real high surge score, but in this case, in this context, it's more commensurate with the team as a party. Party is a team. All right. So there's the Dreambot. Enjoy. And now let's go over to the astrology. Pull that up. And darken our board. And I got to squeeze in here, make sure you can see it, because we're on this right sliver here, just a couple of days of last days of December. But then we have, and let me lighten this up so you can see it. We have January. Welcome to 2022. It's 2022. And just a quick overview. We have quite a few things happening. First of all, you can see that it's a shorter list. So there's not quite as many alignments, and that's sort of refreshing in of itself. We're transitioning to a non-pressurized alignment in hopefully coming around March, mid-March. And we'll be void of any squares, at least for a little bit. We'll have a T-square there on July 4th, 2022. But nonetheless, we're in that transition. This is what QB talked about, hoping to be on the downhill side. I believe this is the downhill side starting, although lots of conflict. Remember, we've got Saturn and Uranus still very tight. And then Uranus is going to go direct halfway in January and keep this. It's still going to start aging out, but at a slower rate. And that's going to keep us going all the way till March. And that's the status quo versus freedom, eccentricity, uniqueness, and all that is in battle with each other. We have Mars at the end of January, this coming month. At the end of January, Mars is going to go into Capricorn. We have Mercury, interesting, halfway through January, going to go retrograde and go back into Capricorn, and then come back. Excuse me. And you've got Mercury square to Uranus before the retrograde, and then sometime in February, Mercury's going to come back around and have another square to Uranus. So another volley for more conflict, but this one more mental and logic. It's a battle of insight and mad scientist versus logic and reason and what we think we know, and even communication is in there. A lot of these reds are just conjunctions, so we'll talk about those as they show up. That's about it. So, and of course the new moon is in there, and full moon, obviously. We have a new moon this week on the 2nd of January. All right, let's proceed. Darken this so you can see it. And all right, here's the humdinger. You've got Mercury, Pluto, and Venus all together. And Venus is in retrograde, but they are in a conjunction, and so it is upheaval with mind, death and rebirth of logic, death and rebirth of how you communicate and relate to others, and death and rebirth of relationships and how you develop peace amongst the groups. This is all in Capricorn, so all that is more goal-oriented. You have a goal-oriented transformation of these things. The sun is also there, but it's a stellium, but it's outside of a conjunction. We have the moon whipping around. You can see just in a few more days, it's going to meet with the sun, which is going to make a new moon in Capricorn. But for now, on Thursday, the 30th, the moon is over the south node. This is going to bring emotional memories. I mean, emotions themselves are mostly, maybe 95% of the past. That's how we get it locked into the amygdala. And this is over the north node in Scorpio. So now we're drowning in emotions from the past. And it's like a portal to the past. You can make this meaningful. This square here over to Jupiter sort of makes it an attention point. It's like, look at me. And it's pressure to see the positive. It's pressure to see the higher level meaning in it and spiritual insights. And so you might find yourself stuck in this alignment until this pressure relieves. Well, the pressure is more opportunistic. As that pressure develops, the outlet could be the sextiles over to what we just talked about with Pluto and transforming everything. So as this transforms, it could be informed by the emotional memories, the intense passions or vindictiveness, or wanting to be vindictive from past experiences because the emotions are over the South Node. And then just a reminder that we're still within or less than a degree from a perfect square with Uranus and Saturn. And so protests continue and fight for freedom continues, and the fight for keeping everything exactly the same as it was and just unrealistic. But yep, they're fighting. And then nice, easy energy from Uranus up to the sun in Capricorn. So this prepares us. This is going to prepare us for the new moon, for the new year. This trine here makes it easy energy for the ego to experience change, to see change, to interpret change. And actually, as this pressure continues from Uranus and Saturn, there's an outlet on the Uranus side. So the insight and the want for freedom easily goes up to the ego. And the ego easily makes aspirations and goals for what it gets from the mad scientists, the freedom-loving Uranus. And that becomes easy, and that's a nice preparation for when the moon gets there. This new moon creates a new cycle, sort of a stamp across the context of at least of January, if not the year, of goal-oriented freedom, change, insight, sort of mad scientist for your life. And that could be Uranus is an impatient person. So that makes the ego feeling like, oh, I want to get this done. And this is a big fuel to the impatience that we talked about earlier, and then the shortcuts, hazardous shortcuts even too, because the pressure doesn't feel good on both of these sides. So it needs an outlet. And the only outlet is Uranus in Sun. All right, that was a mouthful. Let me take a sip of coffee. And let's get into Friday, 31st. This is the last day of 2021. Woohoo! And I've got another chart here for the actual time of 12 o'clock midnight. But we have everything we talked about. Not a lot has changed there other than the moon whipping around here. But we have the adjustments that we're making, and this is the in conjunct with moon has finished passing over the South Node, so we don't have a whole lot of, as the moon leaves Scorpio and those intensities of the past, now it's sort of free loving and friendly but detached Sagittarius moon and conjunct over Mars. And so this is adjusting. Uranus is a forced adjustment, and then this alignment is adjusting. So there's major change coming to how combining the nurturing and the emotional responses of the moon with the Mars, the fiery passion of get things done and yang, and putting those together, you've got yourself a really powerhouse of, I don't want to make this the central theme of Sag, but it's detached and it doesn't want those strong attachments. It just wants to go get stuff done and it's excited to do so. Very pleasant. Sag is optimistic and even fortune is there. So there's a fortune, making your own luck. That's making your own luck. And with the help of Uranus, or forced by Uranus, whichever way you look at it. All right, getting into Saturday the 1st. This is wait. I have, midnight. I'm going to delete this. And we're going to bring in the night. So this is 12 o'clock a.m. This is Central Time. So, your place might be a little bit off of this. This is at the time of the Apple drop. I guess it would be an hour later in New York. But what do we have here? We have the moon in its terminal phase because it's going to meet up with the sun in a couple of days. Well, I guess the next day, the next evening. We have 3 squares. And it's, we got the conjunction that we mentioned before. And everything that we talked about with the moon and Mars still together at the time of the new day, the new year. There's not really a whole lot more to talk about, in my opinion. So delete that, and we'll go into Saturday. In Saturday, there's 3 degrees here, Venus in retrograde. So this distance between Venus and Pluto getting bigger, only by major way of Venus in retrograde, but 3 degrees still. That's still strong. And so still has a big effect on your relationships and how you relate to others. That's all transforming, all changing. For some of you might have dreams of relationship. It doesn't have to be romantic, and Venus doesn't even have to be relationships. It can be finances and how you view worth and value, even arts. It can be creative. It can be performances. Venus is performance. It's artistic expression. So all that's changing, okay, in a goal-oriented way, Capricorn. And here we are, new moon in Capricorn, 12 degrees, 21 minutes. And interestingly, Mercury has just entered into Aquarius. The mind eases. The Mercury's exalted in Aquarius. Okay? And what that means is it's the greatest ease. So Mercury, your mind is really able to just sit back and relax and take it all in. Humanitarian, rebelliousness, uniqueness, freedom, knowledge, how we relate to others. Humanitarian in that we want what's best for the collective, but we also want individual freedoms and maintain uniqueness across our individual persons. So we have the new moon here, and as you can see in Capricorn, we have a stellium. We lost Mercury here to Aquarius, but we still have 4 now on January 2nd. And this brings a new moon cycle. So mainly for the month of January 2022 is more uphill. I don't know if you heard me uphill. My voice was going out at the time. This is uphill because goats climb. And it's a sea goat, but it's climbing and it needs to go higher and it needs to achieve. And it always sees all the obstacles and it tends to be sort of skittish. You know how goats are skittish and freak out easily. We can freak out, and Capricorns can sort of change their minds too, depending on how bad its owner of Saturn, its ruler Saturn, is throwing in hurdles and obstacles for you. But this is that month, that cycle of designing aspirations, goal setting. I mean, think about it. You have a new moon in Capricorn. This is a new time. This is an opportunity for a new project. What does this sound like? So it sounds like New Year's resolutions, doesn't it? Well, most of the time you say, New Year's resolutions are a waste of time. Except 2022, this is a perfect time to design your new year, your new month of January, at least have January resolutions, okay? Because this is a new moon in Capricorn, and Capricorn wants to achieve. It's a time to set some goals and get them done, period. I'll also list out your potential hurdles too, because Saturn will put challenges in you. You know, Capricorns can't achieve without also seeing all of the obstacles in the way. And that's why they get so anxious. Also in this mix is a nice trine that we talked about before with Uranus. And this gives easy change, of course, or alter goals frequently. It aids the Uranus square Saturn side with less energy with goal-oriented ego. In other words, what we want to do is utilize the insights, the eccentricity, the individualism from Uranus, and let it help you in your quest for goals, aspirations in the month of January. You can also make this for 2022. I think that's warranted. And a lot of these energies that I'm talking about have been there at the turn of the new year. So the Uranus was there. The only thing that wasn't there was the new moon. The sun was there. So your ego's already changing. Ego's already doing this. So I'm a big fan of this year of New Year's resolutions. I don't normally do that. But in this year, it makes a lot of sense. There's also this hidden opportunity here with a sextile between Saturn and Mars. And it aids. So we have both sides of the square, Uranus and Saturn. There's this pressure. And so both sides are getting help. So this side, the Uranus side, is getting help from a new moon. And so it has that effect on it. This is who we are, this side, this Uranus side, and it's double trine. So it's mega energy on the Uranus side of this square. And then on this side is an opportunity with, opportunity. This is opportunity for war, basically, because you've got Mars and Sag together, and it's feeding this side that wants to keep everything the same, or the side of government, or the side of let's just comply. Everyone comply. That's the Saturn side, and so there's an opportunity. This is the dream bot right here, folks. Was Mars sextile Saturn. Mars in Sagittarius. It's the warrior. It's to get stuff done, make no apologies, and it can be very impulsive. So let's focus on peace, everybody, especially. So we got double. We have a big overlap with potential violence, potential war. Just saying it like it is. So focus as much as you can, especially around the January. But starting now, preparing for this. And not focusing against war, but focusing for harmony, peace, so we can ease through this troubling aspect and get to the other side without another war, okay? If you'd like. That's what I'd like. That's my vote. Monday, the 3rd, swelling of emotions. Yep, because the moon is passing over Pluto and Venus, intensifying relationships. So remember, I didn't mention this before, but Pluto and Venus, remember, it's not just about dying and rebirth. It could be, depending on how you take this, it could be the intensification of your relationships or how you relate to others. So there's a positive potential there. We get into Tuesday the 4th. We have triple pressure on change and freedom because Mercury is starting to get into the mix. He's technically out of conjunction with Saturn, but on a trine, Mercury trine Uranus, and we have the moon. So we have triple pressure on the 4th of January. We're going to see extra strong, extra emotional, extra logic. I've got a sneeze coming on, sorry. But January 4th is a temporary mega pressure between Uranus and Mercury. So beware of that. Wednesday, the 5th, starts subsiding. You can start seeing, there's only really squares involved here. There's a sextile opportunity. There's a couple of conjunctions, but mainly just a couple of squares. And so this, compared to all of 2021, is actually feels a little bit better. Sort of used to. We got a new baseline involved. We probably got habituated to this discontent, this pressure, this conflict. And so it might feel a little bit light on this day, but still conflicted where I'm mentioning and still seeing protests and the like. Now, Neptune has a square with Mars, so the pressure is shifting towards the gullible, easily tricked, need to escape. And that is Neptune. Neptune in Pisces. It's tricky. And with Mars focusing in on, Mars only has an alignment to Neptune. So whenever you want to do something, that's Mars, you got this pressure of being tricked, and you got to make sure that you're not too gullible or easily tricked or wanting to escape something, maybe discontent. Maybe you're feeling the tendency in Mars and Sag is to feel attached and to break free. And so you might accidentally break free into an escape that you're just creating more problems for yourself. So watch out for that. All right, let's take this off and get into the I-Ching. So the influence during this week from the 30th to the 5th of January, 2022 is 42. 42, the increase. So here's what it means. Periods of increase can be of short duration. Leadership in times of increasing opportunity involves commitment to the needs of cohorts or dependents. By remembering that to lead is to serve, a leader strengthens his or her ability to bring about a lasting increase in prosperity. There are some leadership alignments in the astrology to match this, but increase is not just about leadership. I didn't highlight some of this because it was more of solutions. It was telling you what to do. And we need to look at this in terms of how does it feel? What's the influence here? So line 1 is when you are the recipient of what might be considered blind luck, realize that good fortune has found you because you allowed room for it to enter. This is why we have the possibility of hazardous shortcuts, is because, if you can imagine, there's luck in the air, right? With this I-Ching 42. And we sort of innately know it, can feel it. And so now if you're not careful, you're going to go try to make it faster than what you need to. And so some people are going to just steal, right? I'm not saying that our surfers are just going to steal. And we're already seeing people stealing. But this is going to go even more tendency to try to get the increase, to manifest the increase faster. You're going to make some hazardous shortcuts. So don't do that. Line 4 says, be careful to maintain high level of trustworthiness as you may be called upon to act as a mediator. That harkens back to the Pluto-Venus aspects. So some of you may be called to harmonize, to be the new Venus aspect in other relationships. All right, transitioning to the solution. We apply those change lines. Here's what we get. Stand still. Summon up your fortitude. Don't shine your light. Simply withdraw. The wise take shelter in their own integrity and quietly remain faithful to their principles. Retreat from public activities and common exchanges until the times favor direct action. Concentrate on personal affairs with human dignity, even if that means letting go of some short-term rewards. Ooh, so imagine, there's luck out there, there's increase out there, but even if that means letting go of some short-term rewards, so there's going to be some times where you're going to have to know, even if there's a reward out there, if it's not right for you, just forego it. You've got to learn those skills to know what's right for you, even if you're staring some luck and some fortune. And if it's not right for you, don't go seek it. Desiring a change, such a situation too quickly creates extra conflict. And that's a hammer home for all of us. We want fixing. We want resolution. We want this world to make sense now. But as we get more and more impatient, we're going to actually create more conflict. Do you know that these people that are really trying to install something that would be very beneficial for them in the world, are meeting the same homeostasis that we're getting by not wanting the change. And so we got to trust that homeostasis is a protective factor against. And so it's not happening as fast as they wanted. And likewise, nothing. I mean, when you're talking about changing the world, nothing changes it that fast. Some big events do. That's why they have false flags. But let's keep going. I'm going down rabbit trails. By accepting some hardship, that's Capricorn. That's the Capricorn new moon, because Capricorns see the hardships. While striving to maintain integrity, you are preparing for future growth. So that's foster your commitment to the goal, coming back to the Capricorn new moon, and don't want it too fast. So the gift of Capricorn is that sustainability. It's not the Taurus energy, but still, goats can keep going uphill as long as they don't get too sidetracked too easily. So keep your eye on the ball and keep heading up the hill. Now let's put the new moon into the rave converter. And we have a 12 degrees Capricorn. That puts us in rave gate 38. And it gives us, again, Sagittarius solution. So this is the gate of the fighter. Isn't that interesting? The gate of the fighter. And we have violence in the dream bot. Not liking that. Okay, 38 says the ability to preserve individual integrity through opposition to detrimental forces. I love this statement. That's why I underlined every line. The ability to preserve individual integrity through opposition to detrimental forces. Whew. I don't need any more words to that. I think that encapsulates anything better that I could put onto there. Now, at the new moon, we are in line 4, investigation, analysis, which strengthens opposition. Nice. Remember, Mercury is going into Aquarius, so analysis, which strengthens opposition in favor of everything Aquarius, which would be transparency, knowledge, freedom, collective good, yada, yada. All right, here we go. The detective who develops, or the insider who accepts a joint opposition, whose success can only be based on trust. The energy to recognize who can be of value in times of struggle. On the downside, when Mars detriment, the aggressiveness in opposition that prejudices investigation and limits trustworthiness. Don't you see what that's happening? There's an aggressiveness. This is that one side. This is the Saturn side of the fight. The aggressiveness in opposition that prejudices investigation. In other words, they manipulate data, they push out science, and it limits trustworthiness. Dude, this is what's happening right now. The power of adrenaline to provoke aggressiveness. There it is again. The Dreambot was not too far off, because the rave seems to be the connection between the influence and the solution, and it's saying that we have the possibility of adrenaline, Mars and Sag, to provoke aggressiveness. Let's not fall into that trap, all right? The detective, so on the positive side, the positive opportunity is analysis, which strengthens opposition. All right. All right, let's go to our solution slide. And here we go. Oh, gotta do this. All right. So we have this hurry it up sort of feeling. And we want to, some of us are going to want to take shortcuts. The I-Ching says increase. This is a period of substantial progress. So, think about it. If the feeling or the influence is substantial progress and you see all these obstacles in the way, you just want to take shortcuts. So just don't do hazardous shortcuts. Well, we have a period of blind luck, good fortune might appear. We have possibility of being a mediator, possible need to lead others, but opportunities abound, but for a very short period. So here is the solution, and I think you can see all that. The I-Ching says stand still, don't attract too much attention. And that's what hazardous shortcuts would do, would be attracting attention more than likely. Rave Mandala says investigation, analysis, which strengthens opposition. And the Sidereal Sag, we're used to that net by now. Expansive, wise, wide-ranging, optimistic, philosophical. All right, so where do we begin? Let's read this. This appears to be somewhat of a tricky solution, especially on top of a Capricorn new moon, making us feel more forward-oriented and possible opportunities appearing. The Sag solution is the perfect sign to help us with this conundrum. Shake off attachments this week and seek deeper wisdom, philosophy, spirituality. Don't attract too much attention, according to the I-Ching. Basically, the unattached, explosive Sag quietly focuses on its highest values, creates its own fortune and luck. It's really good with that anyway, and carries out the Capricorn obligations and goals for at least January, if not the year of 2022. Fine-tune your behaviors with the rave this lunar cycle, approximately all of January 2022. If you start to notice aggressiveness in your opposition, it indicates that you are prejudicing your investigation. You don't have the complete picture due mainly to limited perspectives. Try to be the indifferent investigator instead of researching to confirm what you think you know. We all know that stance, don't we? You just want to find stuff to substantiate what you want or what you want to believe. You're looking for validation of that. That's not the proper way to do research, and we know that. But remind yourself, especially this week, be the indifferent investigator and use aggressiveness, anger as your or reactivity, aggressiveness, reactivity. Let that be your barometer for your investigation. It's possible that you don't have the full picture. Okay. This will help in recognizing who is trustworthy in this standoff. And there is a standoff until March-ish. All right. So the summary statement for yourself, the mantra this week could be, if you so desire, I make my own luck without hazardous shortcuts. So I make my luck, but I'm going to keep at it until the luck manifests. Always heard from my dad, you make your own luck. And this week could be in honor of him and how he helped me through thick and thin. So I make my own luck without hazardous shortcuts. And that's especially for me and my chart, because I am an efficiency person. I can, when I get stressed, I can start making shortcuts, and I gotta watch that really well this week. Don't make shortcuts, but we can make our own luck, and the seeds might be planted here this month, January 2022, and you may not see the growth until spring or possibly further down the road. So, got to be patient, and you got to keep at it. That's the beauty of Sag and really the beauty of Capricorn. You can get sort of sidetracked easily, but let's put those goals out there, put the resolutions out there. Normally don't do New Year's resolutions, but this year, absolutely applicable. Do it, in my opinion. All right, let's go do this. Let's make your own luck and avoid hazardous shortcuts this week. All right. Happy New Year, everybody. We'll see you on the other side, the middle of the week next week. be our first CIRF report for 2022. Wow. Unbelievable. All right. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate each and every one of you. Blessings.